as well. But there's two benefits, actually. On film, we'll be getting a thick negative. Give me a fat or a thick negative. So I can print it down. I can always bring it down. But don't ask me to lift. And especially now with HDR, as I was telling you, it's about the shadows. Now I can see the shadows. I got the same bloody latitude only for the shadows that we had for the whole range of highlights to shadows before. I got 5 stops, 6 stops for shadows only. And then I got another 10 for highlights. I can see them all. I can display them all. So it's up to you. In terms of creativity, I'm not limited, well, sorry, I'm not. You are not limited anymore by 5 stops. You can show 14, 11, 9. What do you want to show? So don't be afraid, because some cameramans and DOPs, they came to me like, oh, I don't like it. It's too natural. I mean, yeah, that's the Sony demo, because they try to show you as good as it can be. But it's up to you what you want to show, honestly. So finally, we are not limited by technology. Right. As I was telling you, the cameras are out there. You can use them anytime. We've been using them for many years. We've been capturing in film. You can rescan film and create an HDR version of it, because film is HDR. So, especially because film can capture a lot of colors as well. As I said to you before, it's not just the latitude. It's there. This camera can handle 14 stops. But the color, it needs to be way bigger. If you want to do it properly, I mean, you can do HDR with this one. I shouldn't say this, but yes, you can do HDR with this tiny little one. You can do HDR with many cameras. Basically, HDR means log, because log is an HDR capture. So we got the 55 and 65s as main cameras. And for example, Netflix, Amazon's, and all these top-end broadcasters, well, if we can call them broadcasters, but basically it's more internet providers. Amazon is streaming already in HDR. Netflix is starting next year. Fox has announced that everything that Fox is going to be doing from now on, and everything done 5 years back, is going to be remastered in HDR. It's coming really fast, honestly, and it will come, 4K will come to you at home with HDR, because it's way more simple to do than 3D or anything like that. And it's way more immersive, in my opinion. So, on the broadcast side, Sony has introduced the 4300. Which basically is the first broadcast camera that can do S-Log3, and it's Rec 2020 capable as well. So we're going to start seeing a lot of productions using the 4300. Actually, we did a quick test, a car interesting test on MotoGP in Silverstone. And the guys from MotoGP, they were like, I've never seen the motorbikes like this, because it's just stunning. You've never seen colors and brightness like you're going to see it from now on. The grading monitor, as I said to you, the VVM X300, it's out there. And there's TVs already. So Sony has introduced 2 new Bravias at the beginning of the year. So, well, you know how things go. They're really expensive now, but it will drop. And it will start coming a lot of them and a lot of them. So maybe in a year's time, we can buy them. But this is the really early stages. I mean, this is literally like moving from black and white to color, honestly. It's a really big change. It's a huge change. And talk about the standards, because I skipped them a tiny bit. Right. OATFs, let's call it gammas, all right? So we got 2 standards finally, because that was the big confusion about everyone. And I mean, we've got the monitor, it looks fantastic. How's it going to look at home? Because we didn't have the standards at the time. So now we've got the 70-20-84, someone call it PQ, because that's a Dolby patent, but it's not a patent anymore. It's a standardized, and it's called 70-20-84. That's the gamma, or the OATF, we're going to use for non-broadcast content. Amazon's Netflix, etc., TV series, feature films. Tomorrowland, for example, has been mastered in HDR, and it's been displayed in HDR, and is using the 2084. So that's the way that monitor understands a gamma, for you to understand it better. That OATF is the way I need to understand that signal. Then we got the hybrid gamma. That's that green line there. That's it's finally been standardized, and between you and me, I actually like it way more for grading because it's more gentle. The 2084 is a bit aggressive sometimes, especially in the blacks. You can see there in the blacks that it turns like, it's quite aggressive. If it's more a gamma or a OATF thing on plan for 10,000 nits and so on, you need sunglasses for a monitor like that, honestly. And you can get a really beautiful 10 if you work in front of that monitor. So I think 1,000 nits, which is the monitor you can see out there, is more than enough. And I would like to have the opinion of the colorists around here, and how do you feel? I would like you to sit in front of it, and if you're going to feel tired or not, because that was oh, but that's too bright. I'm going to get really stressed. My eye is going to explode. No, actually, it's way more natural than before, because we needed to be grading on huge darkness, and because we needed that contrast, because we didn't have it. The monitors couldn't cope with ambient light. So we needed to dim down and to get, obviously the white is important to have it on your ambient light, but now with 1,000 nit monitor, your eye gets way less tired than before, because it's a window. I mean, you're used to deal with 20,000 nits and so on. So why are not you going to be able of dealing with 1,000 nits? We've been dealing with 100. So our pupils were like this for many, many hours. Now they're going to be like this. So it's actually, normally I used to have a break every 45 minutes to reset my eye and to bring it back, etc. For the last 3 months I've been in front of that monitor. I just forget to make that breaks and to reset the monitor because I don't need to anymore. So, sorry. We got the Rec 709 that you can see that is up to, basically this line underneath, that's the nits or the candelas per square meter, and that would be the code values. And you can see that Rec 709 is being designed for barely 100. We got the S-Log 3, that will be the capture that we got on the Sony cameras, that can go as far as nearly 1,300. And then the hybrid gamma, that hybrid gamma is going to be the one standardized for broadcast. So the TV stuff is going to be called hybrid log gamma. It's been designed by NHQ and BBC. Okay, first post-production workflows are here. Well, they've been here for a long time. As I said to you, since we started scanning film, and since the Cineon standard came along with Kodak in 1983, more or less, we started scanning film in log. It's actually an invention from Kodak. That was HDR. We've been capturing HDR for many years. So it's out there, and you can use it again. You can remaster most of the things done 20 years ago. So the workflow would be something similar to this. So we've been capturing, I mean, ideally raw, but a 422 10-bit XAVC file in S-Log 3 would be as good as. Obviously, if you want to push it hard, go for raw. But a 422 10-bit is the minimum requirements. As I said to you, it needs to be minimum 10-bit. Don't try to do log, or don't try to do HDR in an 8-bit workflow, like H.264s or MPEG-2's compression. That is designed for purely Rec 709, so don't try to push it that hard because you're going to have a lot of banding. So as I said to you, it can be in both ways, so it doesn't need to be raw. Ideally, yes, because basically raw is the most future-proofing negative that you're going to get. Because raw can be any color, raw can be any gamma. Raw is data. I can just process, as on a lab, that raw data as you want. Once you are on a video workflow, let's say XAVCs or ProRes and so on, you are burning in that color information. So your decisions on camera, that is going to be your decisions forever because it's printed that way. And, well, you can see that we are talking about two separate grades, one for HDR and another one for HDR. Yes and no, depending on how do you want to play that one. We've been doing two grades anyway. We've been doing one color correction for P3, color space for projection, and afterwards we do the Blu-ray master on Rec 709. So it's a shot-by-shot regrade, literally. On HDR and SDR, it's not going to be that complicated because I'm not changing the primaries. Basically, color spaces and like P3s and DCIs and Rec 709s, those are limitations of technology. The P3 color space is a limitation of that Shannon lamp that is on that projector. That's the amount of color that a Shannon lamp can produce. And Rec 709 is already 25-year-old, and it was the best CRTs at the time. Those were the colors that they could display. But the primaries of those colors are shift because that is way different technology than display technology. So I actually need to go for a shot-by-shot regrade to do the projection and to do the Blu-ray master. Now with HDR, it's going to be just a matter of tone mapping because the primaries are exactly the same ones. We're going to be coming from a white color space, and we're going to go maybe for a smaller color space. But the primaries, the perfect red and the perfect green, they are aligned. So I don't need to do that shot by shot. Maybe a particular shot, I need to go for that shot and regrade it all. But it's going to be when I'm going something really, really extreme. The thing is, for example, editorial. This would be the creative part that only changes. I cannot go from an interior dark to a bright exterior in the cut, because it's going to be like opening the curtains on a window. It's going to be like, whoa, hang on a minute. So that's the other thing that is going to change in terms of creativity and storytelling. You're going to need to edit in slightly different way, or as a colorist, I just dim it down. I'm going to just an iris adjustment afterwards, but probably it's going to be way too complicated. So better to adapt it. Okay. As I said to you, the TVs are there. They've been there for a while. We're now making them brighter. But the color space the standard TVs could display was way bigger than Rec 709. We've been sending this tiny little of color to your TV. And it's still going to be like that for a little while, till Rec 1020 comes up. Broadcast trial complemented. This is the test I told you. Actually, this picture will be quite... Can you see something in the blacks? Or can you see the faces of the writers? Now you will. Because it honestly is the best thing I've seen in this industry for a long time. And I'm going to say it again, but I will compare it to going from black and white to color, because it's just way too nice. I'm just going to skip all these. Okay, that's Mr. Claudio Miranda, and those are the first 3 productions mastered in HDR, because from the shooting point of view, it doesn't change much. As I said to you, we've been capturing HDR for many, many years. It's the way you finish that product, the important part of it. So Tomorrowland was the first one to be mastered for HDR projection, which there's actually 2 new cinemas as well in LA, and it's expanding quite fast as well, because we were talking about displays, but what about projection? Projection will come as well. But basically, we need a hell of a lot of output from those lamps. Basically, the only way of doing it is with dual laser projectors. It's two beams of laser projecting into the screen. Because we got a problem with projection. That's a screen is always going to be white or silver, and never going to have true black, like an OLED monitor, for example. That's way too dark. It actually took me a while to adapt myself onto when I was moving from LCDs monitors to OLED monitors. At the beginning, I didn't like it because it's too black. I mean, I couldn't see the end, especially I was doing a lot of anamorphic at the time, and I couldn't see where actually the monitor was finishing and what was the 235 mask. And but once you are used to it, you cannot go back, honestly, and get in those grayish. I mean, LCDs now, every time I'm in front of an LCD, it's like, ooh, oh my God. They're nice, but once you go back, you cannot go back. Right. So what we got on this, this monitor we're talking about, obviously it's all HDR and 2020 and blah, 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 but always I can go back. So it's full EP3. I can go for 2.4 gammas, 2.6 gammas, 2.2 gammas, CRTs, Rec 79 color space. I can cover all. So you've got probably about 10 to 15 years of monitor, depending on how you use it and how much. But the expected life of that monitor is about 30,000 hours working in HDR mode. So it's a really flexible monitor. It's really easy as well to configure because on the function buttons, for example, if I'm doing a broadcast color grade, I got them all the presets. I've got them done in the function button, so I can literally, with the touch of a button, that monitor can be a projector, that monitor can be a standard TV, that monitor can be an HDR TV, and so on. So it's really, really simple to see it. And a special thing, because I said to you that I really liked it, the 2084, and I like it more the hybrid gamma. First of all, because it's more gentle, but second, because it's really easy to get SDR from it. I don't need that second grade. It's really, really simple with an external box, sending an HDR signal and getting an SDR that looks properly. So it's really, really simple to go back. There's some people that actually with the 2084, was the first one, and it was released a bit too quick, I think, because it was a massive rush, and we need to get this HDR out there. As always, you know, manufacturers, they try to rush a lot, everything. But, and you'll see it, we got it on the monitor as well out there. The hybrid low gamma will come as a firmware upgrade, because it was literally, I think, it was just before ABC, when they come up with the standardization of that. So barely has 2 weeks or 3 weeks of life. So all these new standards, etc., they will be just implemented into the monitor because it's just a gamma that we need to understand. That's it from now. I need your questions because I know you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you just mentioned the double laser beam projecting.
Yep.
So I know that, for example, I'm from Germany, and there was like a giant investment somehow of the film funds and industries.
Yeah.
And they supported the little cinemas and so on and so on. So there were like newspapers about this back in the professional way.
Yeah.
This cinema or this cinema. Okay. So this cinema, so I'm speaking about the change of the cinema and the projection. So they somehow just did it, like the little cinemas that just did it like a year or 2 years ago, maybe. So is there a calculation of, or some idea what you think, because double laser beams, laser projection, what kind of time you guess that we achieve finally this kind of color space in the cinemas?
On a small, the main part of it would be the 2020, the color space part of it. Because I said to you, with standard projection, with standard Shannon lamps, we're never going to go 2020. The only projector that can cover 2020, it has to be laser. Because we need to move on from technology, because obviously that's as good as it can get. And no one has complained about it actually, but we could see way more colors on print film, on projection, than the ones we can see now, because like P3 is slightly bigger than Rec 79 as a color space, but slightly bigger. Yeah, maybe you can have some browns and things like that. But with laser, the first thing you're going to get, probably is not going to be HDR, but the first thing you're going to get is Rec 10 to 20. And you're going to see way more colors on projection than you've seen before. Even bigger than print film. Because print film would be, if you remember that triangle of the Rec 10 to 20, would be within it, but it's slightly smaller. These dual beam lasers, basically it needs to be a dual beam because that is never going to be black. And the amount of light to get those specular highlights and those super highlights and those deep shadows, the only way of doing it is actually with a dual beam. Timetable for that, I don't know, but as you said, yeah, most of the cinemas are now adapting into 4K projection and things like that. I would be pissed off. Sorry, now I'm not working for Sony, okay? This is all my personal opinion. But, and it's the same with TVs at home. Most of the people has been...
I just bought one, like an old. My first...
The thing is, this technology is just going so ridiculously fast. The good thing as well, on the other side, is that I don't think it's going to go much faster, and I think 8K, they're doing a lot of tests on 8K, and it's pointless. I mean, from a user point of view, to see 8K properly, do you need an 85 inches, 65 inches TV? Minimum. Anything below that, it's pointless. It's like 4K. 4K, they are releasing 4K laptops. What's the point of having this little screen in 4K? I mean, I'm scaling. 4K, minimum 30 inches. But what we get with all this is viewing distance. For example, and especially, I'm going to throw that back again to the colors around here. The distance you've been having your monitor, reduce it by half, and get as close as you want on that monitor, because literally I have it now here. I don't need it to have it like in that wall, and I need a bigger screen, obviously, to be working from that distance. So at 30 inches, I can have it here, and you can literally put your head around. Actually, I hit it with my head the other day doing a demo, and it's the first time I hit a monitor with my head. So honestly, because I was showing, no, get close, and now it's talking like that, and then when I turned back, I was so close to the bloody monitor that I hit it, and I nearly threw it onto the floor, 20 grand on the floor. But yeah, technology is been going way too fast. But I think it's going to kind of hold the horse. 4K, HDR, and 2020.
And what is this, the standards of just announcing, like, okay, finally we achieve ACES, and we are going in the ACES, something like, and...
ACES is an ideal world. Which, honestly, I think it's one of the best things, and the more, I mean, I come from cinematography, but the more I talk with the broadcast guys, and talking about these OETFs and so on and blah, blah, it's like, what the fuck? I mean, the only thing we need is ACES in broadcast and in cinemas. Because all these new TVs, they're all smart TVs, Android TVs and things like that, so they can talk. I can talk to my internet provider or to my Amazon, and I can tell him, I am this model of TV. I've got my output device transform, my ODT, so I've been configured and calibrated on the factory properly. Please send me this content because this is the one I need. So ACES will be ideal in that sense. But ACES is more a workflow than a standard. I was having a meeting with the guys from the academy after IBC and talking about how can we push ACES as a workflow. It's a color pipeline, because till now, dealing with color, it's been a bloody mess. And it is becoming worse and worse, especially with DSLR cameras and sorry for this, but especially with non-technical people dealing with 3D LUTs, and yeah, I've done this 3D LUT, just send it over to me, and I'm gonna use it in my camera. Guys, careful with that, because it's not right. I mean, color science has been there for many years. It's been really expensive, and it's really complicated. And the way of dealing with 3D LUTs, careful, it's gonna look all right, but it's not gonna look correct. Technically, it's not going to be correct. You cannot mix a LUT created for an Alexa on a Varicam. Or you cannot mix LUTs created for S-Log3 and an F55 with film. What's the bloody point? How 3D LUTs were invented. They were invented, as I said to you, we were scanning film in the 80s with the fantastic Cineon log invented by Kodak. And all that was putting everything into a grayscale. That is log. Okay, we don't have true blacks, we don't have true whites. Everything becomes shades of gray. That's because it's minimum 10-bit. Actually, the Cineon standard has been always running on minimum 10 bits. That's because the DPX came up after that, and it was 10-bit in the 80s. My God, that was a huge file. I still remember the first time some scan film came over to me. It was a huge hard drive. It was a short film. It was insane. I mean, there was no computer that could move that. I needed to kind of do everything on stills, and it was really bloody complicated. We're moving on into 12-bit workflows, etc., and broadcast will come onto 12-bit. But these 3D LUTs, they were invented. So I'm using Fuji stock, this particular one, and I'm going to be displaying on Kodak print. So we were creating a 3D LUT that emulated that stock of film, so we could see it on the screen, because obviously looking at that log, it was not nice. It looks a bit soft and dull. And if any of you have seen any log files on your computer monitor, it doesn't look right, isn't it? But that's an HDR capture. And we needed that kind of transform, because print film, think about this as well, is on a really good day, is about 6-7 stops. So I need to come up from those 13 capture with a color performance that is from that negative. I need to translate those colors and those primaries and those perfect reds into this print that is way less latitude, and it's got the colors in a different way. So they were profiled, particularly for that particular negative, to go onto this, okay? So a 3D LUT needs to be profiled properly. If you want to do 3D LUTs, my recommendation, and the one software or one plugin that I love the most, is Film Convert. Film Convert is one of the best print emulation softwares I've seen in my life, because I can profile it. Which camera have you been using? I'm on an F55, and I got it configured as S-Log3 and S-Gamut. Great. And where you want to go to? I would like to go for Fuji, Eterna, whatever. And then I can create that 3D LUT. But they need to be profiled, so careful. Because I've seen this amount of web pages that download your looks. Oh, that's really fucking scary. And the good thing with HDR is the end of it. No more 3D LUTs. You don't need to do that. Because those 3D LUTs, they were invented because, I'm going to be a bit taking out, it's what is called scene referred and output referred. A scene referred would be nature, what we can capture with our cameras, the latitude and the color, etc. And output referred is this tiny bit. So we need to squeeze all that. And that's because, especially when you are using 3D LUTs for monitoring on your camera and to use it on the viewfinder, especially the super popular Rec 709, your highlights are going to be clipping way earlier than the sensor is. Why it's happening? Most of the people is underexposing. And that's a big factor, honestly. Because the people is thinking that my sensor is working that way. I'm clipping the highlights. No. One of the best tools I've seen on a camera, and not because I work for Sony, it's on 55s, FS7s, 65. It's called high clip and low clip. High key and low key. It's basically a 3D LUT, but when you activate it, it's a 3D LUT that will be showing you. You can turn it up. Thank you. It will show you the top 2 stops and a half in terms of detail, and you press it again, and it will show you the bottom 2 stops and a half, and then you press it again, and it will go back to your normal Rec 709. And remember, any Rec 709 lookup table is going to be 5 stops. That's what you can see in your viewfinder. That's because you need to be really aware what I'm looking at. That's not how you need to expose it. Your sensor can see way more. You can see 5 stops in the viewfinder, but your camera is capturing 14. None of them are on the shadows, I promise you. That difference in stops, those 9 stops, where are they? They are all in the highlights. They're not in the shadows. Don't look for them in the shadows. So most of the people is just going with those brightness and coming down. I extended way too long this answer, isn't it? No. Any more questions? Sorry. Come on. Did you get it all?
We got some monitors that are, for example, 1000 nits, 2000, 4000 nits. Yep. Do we have already standard? Is this ST2084? Is it already like 1000?
No, that is adaptive, same as the hybrid low gamma. So depending on the display you're going to be sending that signal to, that OATF is a bit smart, and it will adapt depending on the brightness of the display. So the reference monitor we got out there is 1,000 nits, but you can use it to grade a TV that's going to be 4,000.
And on which one do you grade them?
On that one, on a 1,000. You can grade on a 1,000 monitor, displaying on a 4,000. For example, the Bravias Sony's been releasing, they're around 1,300, so it's 1,300 nits more or less. Because basically you're going to have way more ambient light in your living room than in your grading suite. That's because they're going to go with 2,000s and 3,000 nits to try to cope with that massive ambient light. So that 1,000 nits in a low light environment will give you the same results as an 2,000 nits. More questions? Come on, I know that it's early, but... All right, so let's move on to the... let's go outside and see the monitor. You're going to come up with questions, I know. Well, thank you.
Maybe I should kill myself. Maybe